For my first presentation, I'll be discussing the Czech Premium Pale Lager. To start off, I'll cover a little bit of history. You can see the picture on the bottom right hand there is the Pilsner Urquell brewery. The Czech Premium Pale Lager was previously known as the Bohemian Pilsner. BJCP made the change to Czech Premium Pale Lager in 2008, when they updated the 2008 style guidelines to the 2015 style guidelines that we've been studying recently. The Bohemian Pilsner was originally named after its origin in the Bohemian city of Pilsen. The city of Pilsen was founded in 1295 by King Wenceslaus II. King Wenceslaus founded the town. He allowed the citizens the right to brew beer. At the time, they were mostly brewing top fermenting ales that were known to be dark and turbid. These ales were also variable in both consistency and quality, and in 1838, consumers expressed their dissatisfaction, and 36 casks were actually ordered to be dumped. In response, the city officials founded a city-owned brewery in 1839 called the Městský pivovar Pilsen, or Citizens Brewery of Pilsen. This brewery aged their beer in caves and used cool fermenting lager yeasts. Shortly after opening, the brewery hired the Bavarian brewer Joseph Groll. Joseph Groll made use of four important things to brew the first batch of pale lager. The pale malt produced by the New English kilning technology, Pilsen soft water, Saaz noble hops grown in the nearby town of Zátek, and Bavarian lagering techniques. These conditions created the first batch of Pilsner, which was produced on October 5th, 1842. The first batch was served at the Feast of St. Martin markets, and as the popularity of pale lager grew over time, they wanted to indicate that they were the original source of pale lager. So in 1898, this brewery trademarked the name Urquell, which means ancient source. And given Pilsner Urquell's history as the original pale lager, it is understandable why it is listed as a commercial example in the BJCP style guidelines. And before we move on here, I would like to again address the name change from the Bohemian Pilsner to the Czech Premium Pale Lager. Pat Fahey, who manages the exam content for Cicerone, he spoke at Big Beers and provided an interesting reason for the change. He said that in the Czech Republic, only Pilsner Urquell is called a Pilsner. However, there are many other pale lagers that are brewed in this style, but not described as a Pilsner. Therefore, the Czech Premium Pale Lager is a more accurate description of the style category. Modern developments. So there's a few modern developments that were really important for the growth of Pilsner Urquell and Pilsners in general, lagers in general. Modern refrigeration was introduced by Carl von Lind in the late 19th century. This eliminated the need for caves for beer storage, which was pretty limited, required certain areas to have those caves. And this refrigeration allowed for lagers to be produced in many new locations. So it grew in popularity and the demand grew as well. Pilsner Urquell used to be fermented in barrels, actually, in the cellars beneath the original brewery. In 1993, they started using large cylindrical tanks. However, some small batches are still brewed in the traditional fashion in the barrels to allow for taste comparisons to what comes out of their new large cylindrical tanks. So some fun facts. The Czech Republic loves to drink. In fact, its citizens consume more beer per capita than any other country in the world. They consume on average 161 liters per person per year. It is a lot. In Prague, beer can be cheaper than water, actually. Beer prices can be as low as 80 cents a pint, where water costs around $1.60 a bottle. There are 307 breweries in the Czech Republic. 43 are individual breweries, or industrial breweries, and 264 are microbreweries. The most traditional bars serve only one brand of beer, and there's quite a lot of those kind of tied house style pubs in the Czech Republic right now. 9 out of 10 beers produced and consumed in the world are based off of the original Pilsner, which is Pilsner Urquell. Today, Pilsner Urquell is produced in 2 breweries, in the original location in Pilsen, and also in Kaluga, Russia. It was also brewed between 2002 and 2011 in Poland. Pilsner Urquell, interestingly, ran a homebrew competition in 2011 to see if any homebrewers out there could brew a clone, or to see how similar a beer they could make to the Pilsner Urquell. Some were thrown out for being too dark or too light in color. Some had too much diacetyl, others were too sweet. However, about 5 or 6 of them were fairly close. 12-year homebrewer Aaron Herms ended up winning the competition, which actually won him a trip to the original Pilsner Urquell brewery, which is pretty neat. So for the traditional recipe, they used 100% Pilsner malt, and they also used 100% Saaz hops, and they used a Bavarian lager yeast. To achieve that nice maltiness that you get, they did decoction mashes. That's a very common thing when making a premium pale lager. So vital statistics. For IBUs, Pilsners, premium pale lagers are between 30 and 45 IBUs, which is a pronounced bitterness. The original gravity is between 1044 and 1060. The ABV range is between 4.2 and 5.8, which is on the lower to normal side of things. For final gravity, we're looking at 1013 to 1017. And for SRM, we're looking at 3 to 6, which is straw to golden color. And you can see there, those are 2 commercial examples listed or shown up there on the PowerPoint, and they are nice. They got that nice, perfect straw gold color. Sensory descriptions. So the Czech Premium Pale Lager, these lagers have a good balance between the bready maltiness and the hop bitterness. The bitterness should be clean and pronounced without being harsh or lingering. Bready malt aromas are complemented by the spicy, floral, earthy hop character from the Saaz hops. Light diacetyl is acceptable, but it should not be overwhelming. The color is straw to gold and extremely clear. The clarity is essential to a good example of a premium pale lager. The white head is dense and long-lasting. This is another important aspect of a premium pale. When thinking about the appropriate head for this style of beer, I like to think of Bierstadt's Slow Pour Pilsner with that creamy, dense head that it has on there. Long, lingering head. The Czech Premium Pale Lager also has a medium body and medium carbonation, so it shouldn't be too thin or too overly carbonated. And finally, the glassware. This beer should be served in a specific glass, a Pilsner glass or a stemmed Pilsner glass, are our most common types and the most preferred. These glasses are usually smaller than a pint glass. They are tall, slender, and tapered, and these characteristics provide certain benefits to the beer. The style of glass showcases the color and the clarity of the beer. So you can see here on the screen, that tapered end there gives you kind of a color spectrum, so you can see from a very thin point to a little bit denser area on top there. And it also showcases the carbonation. So some of these glasses will be etched on the bottom, so you can see that nice bubble cascade going right up through the center. And the tapered top there also allows for really good head retention. And like I was mentioning earlier, good creamy white head is super important for this style of beer. And so all of that being said, let's go ahead and taste some Pilsner.